What's up YouTube? Thanks for joining me on the channel today. I created this video a couple of days ago, and actually when I went back to check the footage, all of the audio had dropped off. So here we are again. So as you all know, last July, I sold my beloved Iron 883. I put so much of my heart and soul into that bike. But for me at the time, in order for me to get the Lowrider S, unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to the Iron 883. So I made a video last year talking about how I was really sad to let the Iron 883 go, and almost a year later today, I'm still a little upset. I'm still grieving. Now, don't get me wrong. You all know that I love my Lowrider S. It's a great bike. Dare I say, I think I actually love the Lowrider S more than the Iron 883. But there's just something about the Sportster that I miss. And I know I'm not alone in this. Check out this most recent video from Great Egret. He had a Sportster, took it on some really long cross-country trips, and then bought a Lowrider S. And then just recently I found out that he sold the Lowrider S and got his Iron 883 back, or a different Iron 883. Marvel Kid is another YouTuber that I know. He sold his Sportster and got a Lowrider S, and then Road Glide, and then back to a Sportster. So he has 3 bikes now. Blockhead is another YouTuber that is infamous for selling his bike and getting that same bike back because of emotional reasons. And I'm sure there are countless others who have done the same thing. Maybe it's just a part of motorcycle life, or just life in general. I've done this many times, not just with motorcycles, but with guitars. I've sold guitars and I've instantly regretted it, and other things as well. But in this video, I wanted to get into reasons why I miss my Sportster, and why, if you're like me and you're thinking about, you know, the new Lowrider ST that just came out, and like maybe a Road Glide ST, Street Glide ST, what have you, and you're thinking about trading up for any of those bikes, watch this video, because you can maybe take a lesson or two from me. In this video, I'm going to get into the reasons why I miss it and why you shouldn't get rid of your Sportster. I know that everyone's situation is different. Financial circumstances won't allow you to have 2 bikes. If it just means holding out for a little bit longer to save up to buy the second bike that you want, hold on to your Sportster, and let's go into the reasons why. The first one, and this is probably top of my reasons, but there's just something about a Sportster that looks just right. Sometimes late at night, I scroll through photos of my old Sportster pictures, and gosh, my Sportster just looked so great. And still to this day, I stand by the fact that the Sportster is one of the best looking Harleys that has come out in decades. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine, and you're entitled to your opinion. But if you just look around on Instagram, the Sportster has one of the biggest followings. And it's just a wildly popular bike. And not just does it look great, there are so many different variations of the Sportster, and they all look really good. Whereas like Road Glide is going to be a Road Glide, a Lowrider S is going to be like either club styled, or it's going to be like a little mini bagger. With the Sportster, because it's been around for so long, the aftermarket support is just booming. And so you can really make the Sportster into whatever kind of bike that you want, and they all look great. The size and weight is the next on my list. A lot of people are going to tell you that a Sportster is a girl's bike, or that's too small. And I say that's pretty garbage. Yeah, sure, maybe if you're a bigger, taller guy, the Sportster won't be that comfortable for you, but for me, it was a great size. I'm 5'8", about 180 pounds. I don't know if you guys can hear my daughter and her friend playing upstairs, but that's life. I'm doing this video while they're playing around. But anyways, it's a great cruiser for around town, and it can be a long distance cruiser if you set it up properly with the right shocks, seat. It can really do that long distance. If I were to get a Sportster again, it would probably be my bike that I ride for short little rips around town. It's perfect for that. The third reason is just the sound. It's iconic. The Sportster is the last of the air-cooled engines, and it just sounds great with either some slip-ons or a full exhaust system. Something about an air-cooled engine like the Sportster, and it just has a great Harley iconic sound. It is what I think of when I think of Harley, you know, that rumble, the potato sound. I love the sound of my Lowrider S, but it just doesn't sound anywhere near as nice as my Iron 883 did. And of course, you know, there's a lot of other reasons. They're easy to wrench on, their parts are plenty, it's a proven engine, it's been refined over the many years that it's been in production. And for me, it also has a big sentimental value, as it was my first introduction to Harley. And I have a lot of really good memories on that bike. So with all that said, the question is, like, since I regret selling the Sportster, would I ever come back to it again? And my answer is, honestly, it's just a maybe right at this moment. There's a few reasons why I might not get a Sportster, or at least the air-cooled Sportster that exists today, and here's why. As much as I love the Sportster, I'll have to say it's extremely underpowered when you compare it with the other bikes in its class, like the Scout Bobber. When I bought the Sportster, I just wanted a Harley, and like nothing else would do at that point. So I bought the most affordable Harley within my price range. But looking back, like, would I go back to a Sportster? I don't know. If I did, it definitely wouldn't be because of performance. 2, I don't know if you all heard, but there's going to be a new Sportster coming later this year with the Revolution Max engine. Harley teased this in a few of their, premiere videos, but it should have the Revolution Max engine, most likely a 900cc displacement, and it resembles the Sportster in terms of aesthetics that we know today. The Sportster S doesn't share anything in common with the Sportster, except for the name. But so if I were to go back to a Sportster, I would take a hard look at the Sportster that's coming out later this year, hopefully. I think that Sportster is going to have the performance that the current Sportster doesn't have right now. 3rd, as a motorcycle enthusiast, I'd love to try to own a bike that may be slightly outside of the Harley family. Don't get me wrong, I love my Harley and I love aspects of the Harley culture, but I might want to broaden my perspective and experience other brands, like what other brands have to offer. Considering that I'm still really a cruiser guy at heart, I'd most likely stick within the bobber realm, but just from other brands. My daughter was just calling for me. I'd most likely stick within the bobber realm, but just from other brands. Some of the brands that I was thinking about is Triumph. They have the Triumph bobber. Looks amazing, looks gorgeous. Definitely a step up from the Sportster in terms of performance. And of course, I've mentioned the Indian Scout bobber, which I think I have my eye on. Great looking bike, a little bit high in terms of price, but it just looks like a fun bike. The performance is there, it looks great. It's also an American iconic brand. So there you have it. If you have a Sportster, I would say hold on to it. Don't sell it because you think the grass is greener on the other side, because a lot of times certainly it isn't. But of course, this is just my experience. There are plenty of others who have sold their Sportster for a bigger bike, for a different bike, and never really looked back. And maybe it just wasn't meant to be for them. But I think there are those of us who have really fallen in love with the Sportster, even in spite of all of its flaws and its shortcomings. If you are one of those people and you're thinking about trading up for a shiny new bike, I think you'll end up regretting it in the long run. That's just my 2 cents for what it's worth. All right, that's the video for today. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video, but until the next video, I'll see you all later. Peace.